Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. Thanks so much for joining us. My name's Jeromy Corrigan. The show this week's going to be a bit of a different look. Unfortunately, we were actually kicked out of our studios, but a temporary look. Have to give a shout out to my coworkers here at IKS Media for putting this all together at last minute to make sure that SJHL Weekly still goes off without a hitch. Before we get into today's show, we have to thank our sponsors. We have so many great sponsors that help support the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League throughout the year. Cantera Seeds, SaskTel, Capital Auto Mall, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Chevrolet, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, SGI, SGU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, RBC. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, the show, SJHL Weekly, would not be possible. On today's show, of course, we have lots to get into, but we'll also be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan, who splits their weekend against the Melfort Mustangs, as we bring in our great co-hosts, both Rory Mcgouran and Jamie Neugebauer, live via video chat. Boys, how was your guys this weekend?
Go ahead, Nugsy.
Yeah, it was good. Called the Hounds and Clippers yesterday after the Hounds had 9 days off because of the illness to the Weyburn Red Wings last week. So it was a long time since Notre Dame played a game, and as a result, a long time since I called the game. But the Hounds got one in yesterday, and they got a win, so that's good for them. And for me, I got some hard-earned time with the family, and watch some World Cup.
There you go. Rory, how about you?
Yeah, first off, it's our last show in November, so just a shout out to everyone who has been supporting Movember and donating money where they can, all the teams that went through with it, anyone who has, jobs and employers who pooled their money to help support men's mental and physical health. It's always a special month for myself, so just want to shout out to everyone that helped support that great cause. And yeah, in terms of the weekend in the SJHL, it seemed like it might have been a little bit of a lighter one for me and just around the league because of all the postponements and then a little bit of a lighter schedule, but 8 games to cover, which only means that we're going to get to break down each one maybe a little more thoroughly as we move through our recap. But I think first we need an update from our representative for Canada Soccer, Nugsy, and he can kick off the show with what happened to Team Canada.
Yeah, what's kicking it, Nugsy?
Oh, yeah, painful. So if you're not following, Canada's first game at the World Cup they played great, didn't score, lost 1-0 to Belgium, but there was all this positivity. Right after the game, Canada's national team manager goes on the world media and says that they're going to basically, destroy Croatia. He used different terminology, but that's what he said. And the Croatians are like, we're a great team. We were in the last World Cup final. And so what ended up happening was the Croatians kicked Canada's butt yesterday, 4-1. Canada did score its first ever men's World Cup goal. So, good for Canada. But yeah, it was a demolition and a clinic by the Croatians. And, kudos to, Jason Tatarnik. He was in touch with me. He's like, what happened in that game? He's a soccer fan, the head coach and GM of the Estevan Bruins. And, I know people around the league we're interested. I was talking to a couple of Hounds players about it too. But yeah, I drove to Wilcox, with a heavy heart, grumpy after that Canada game against Croatia. And Canada has one more game, but they're eliminated from moving on at the World Cup. So there you have it. But, there's still lots of reason to watch. The World Cup has been interesting out in Qatar. But Canada, I think, opened some eyes in terms of the ability they have and opened their own eyes in terms of how far they still have to come to compete against some of the best teams in the world at this stage.
Yeah, calling out one of the best countries in the world at a sport, it's a bold strategy, Cotton. And for Canada, it did not work out. But like Rory kind of mentioned earlier, 8 games on the docket in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this past weekend. So let's get right into it. It all started on Friday night. Just the 2 games on Friday night in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, usually much busier. But the Yorkton Terriers earning a 4-3 overtime victory over the Kindersley Clippers. And then the Melfort Mustangs doubling up the Flin Flon Bombers 6-3. One more game on Saturday as Kindersley continued that road trip, but they were shut out by the Melville Millionaires 4-0. Flin Flon got back in the win column with a 5-4 overtime win over Melfort. And of course, the Humboldt Broncos, they actually picked up, it was a 4-0 win over the Yorkton Terriers. Then on Sunday, 2 games on Sunday to close out the week. The Kindersley Clippers falling 4-3 to the Notre Dame Hounds. And then an overtime thriller between Nipawin and Melville, which sees the Hawks earn a 3-2 victory. Guys, let's start with the Kindersley Clippers. I think we had talked about it last week, the fact that they were playing 5 games in 6 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And unfortunately for the Clippers, they only earned 2 out of a possible 10 points. Rory, what was your thoughts, I guess, just on their trip as a whole?
I think we knew how difficult it would be, especially down the tail end of it on Saturday and Sunday for the Clippers to navigate through 5 games in 6 days. But if I'm, just being blatantly honest, I think they had a great opportunity to get points against some teams that are right around them, and they failed to do so. They picked up only 2 out of 10 points. I kind of like what they have done to their roster. Getting Logan Linklater back is going to be a big addition. And then trading for Danton Cox, the younger brother of Logan Cox, who was acquired from Melfort earlier in the season. He's, I would say the top 2005 defenseman in the SJHL, or one of them. He was averaging 19 minutes a game in Humboldt. Maybe wanted to change of scenery. Maybe he wanted to play with his brother. And then, that is just unfortunate for them that the very next day, Logan Cox has a season-ending shoulder surgery. But you know what? I can't nitpick at it. It's just Kindersley had a really big opportunity in a situation that I will say was very tough playing that much hockey. But I would have liked to see them get some more points because now they're solely in the basement of the SJHL and they lost all their games in hand. They got 24 games played now, so they're going to have a really good second half of the season to try and get back into the mixes of Notre Dame's and Nipawin's and Yorkton, who's right on the heel.
Nugsy, what about you?
Yeah, well, first of all, you mentioned them adding Logan Linklater. I think that's a huge addition. First of all, he's just a great human being. You talk about November, you talk about somebody that is really at the forefront of being outspoken about hockey players and being real with mental illness and everything. He is an outstanding person. First of all, another local boy to Kindersley too, and he's so talented. Just got them back from the Regina Pats, if you're not aware, from the Western Hockey League, and I think he's got 4 points in 5 games, and really involved a little bit off of it yesterday in Wilcox. I'm sure you would agree, but he adds a real element to that Kindersley team that adds a little bit of depth in scoring. But you hit it on one side, Rory, like they needed to get some points from these games against the Yorktons and the Notre Dames and the Melvilles of the world, but you got to give Yorkton and Melville and Notre Dame credit too, because, first of all, the Melville Millionaires were a team that had said, we talked to Mike Reagan recently, right, that he felt like his team was playing well, just weren't getting any of the bounces. But now they got a couple bounces and, they're getting, Ethan Anstey looking like a great add. He's added some depth with that line with Fry Fogel and Cooper Chisholm. And, he seems like a great depth add piece there to Melville, and they're finding ways to score. And same with Yorkton, they were down in the dumps. We were talking about them, like how can Yorkton turn it around? You asked me that question yesterday, and they found a way to win a couple games in overtime, I believe, both against the Millionaires, or against the Clippers, pardon me, and then 3-3, 5th and 6th for Kindersley going into Wilcox. Not easy. Hounds showed a lot of rust as well yesterday. Could have gone either way, really. Clippers, big time kudos. Showed a lot of effort in that game against the Hounds in Wilcox, and it could have gone either way. But just a Jared Sitch special with an absolute bullet in the third period on the power play to win it for Notre Dame. But great. You're absolutely right, Rory. Like, I think this is 5 games that the Clippers will rue. But the good news is, if you're a Clippers fan, there's no reason to panic. Logan Linklater looks like he's back in. Caden Ostrom is really starting to figure it out offensively for them. And you mentioned Danton Cox. You talk about a guy that's a really nice fit alongside Braden Cook on the top pairing there for Kindersley. Braden Cook being, a very, very good, underrated, offensive two-way defenseman. The offensive numbers haven't come this year, but we know how good he is. He'll be fine. And, that's a good add too for Kindersley. So great point they've added, and it's still early enough. And the gap is not that big that things can't change quickly, but certainly a disappointing road trip for Kindersley here.
Hey, Jeremy, if I may, just for one,
go ahead.
Sorry, man. This is going to happen throughout the show with the virtual 3 box. I didn't want to step on your toes. They've yet to pick up a win on the They've yet to pick up a win on the road. They got to find a way to win away from Kindersley. They're over 500 at home, right? They got to pick up some road points. They only have 3 points in 12 road games so far. So that's going to be the glaring sort of adjustment that I want to see. Can Kindersley win on the road? Because they're going to need to if they want to get back into the race.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was their first 5. That was their first 5 road games in forever, right? Sorry,
that's okay.
You just said they just have played 12 road games. Now they just played 5 in a row, like in a week. So that shows you how little practice they have on the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you know what we talked about it at the start of the show. Like it was a quieter week, I think, for the weekend in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, but it was a big weekend for 3 teams that were going into the weekend out of the playoff spot: Kindersley, Melville, and Yorkton. And 2 of those teams had solid weekends. So let's talk about now Yorkton. Yorkton picking up the 2 wins over Kindersley. Obviously a tough loss then on Saturday to Humboldt, but Yorkton finding a way to get 2 wins and really get back in the race and are only 2 points behind Nipawin for that final playoff spot.
Yeah, we know, like we all know how good Clay Sleva is, and you know he's a guy that is a premium offensive talent in this league, and he finally kind of showed it a couple games there. Scored 2 goals there in the first period in the game that Yorkton ended up winning in overtime, and Quinton Unreiner, who they brought in, the Terriers defenseman they brought in from the AJ, he's a smooth skating guy again. Took some time to find his step here in the SJ, but you think of a situation that can give a defenseman some confidence. An overtime winner for a defenseman, that's gotta be impressive. And they put a bunch of shots on Cody Jamin, who for the most part didn't have a bad trip in terms of his own ability to stop the puck. So it's a thing where the Yorkton Terriers needed to beat these teams, and they found a way against Kindersley. Again, it wasn't pretty for Notre Dame. It wasn't pretty. The only team of those 3 that really probably leaves feeling really good about themselves is the Melville Millionaires. Really, I think it was really could have gone either way, but for Notre Dame and Yorkton, really only Melville was the team that's leaving feeling probably really good about themselves.
Rory, I guess just your thoughts on, you saw Yorkton on Saturday. Maybe they were a little tired, but they picked up 2 wins. What did you think of their weekend?
I think they were, I wouldn't say tired, but they're also going up against the Broncos team that had the full week off. And they needed to readjust in that week after being subpar throughout the whole month of November. So they went off against a really hungry Humboldt team. Yorkton, you know what? I'm giving them credit because when they go up against the teams that are in the fight and maybe like a Melville or Kindersley, they have really brought their A game, which are huge points. We all know that. When they go up against, a Humboldt or Battlefords, they've, yet to pick up wins against those 2 teams. They did beat Flin Flon once up in Flin Flon, so they can do it. You just need to be able to kind of bring your game against the best, and we'll see if they can do that down the stretch. They got 10 wins on the season, and 9 of them are when Caleb Allen's in net. So they ride and die with Caleb Allen in my books. And when he provides them a chance to win, they're a capable team that does win. And they're just going to have to try and find that extra gear to measure themselves and pick up points against teams that are now above them in the standings.
And he'll always give them a chance to win every time he's in between the pipes, for sure. But Nugsy, you touched on Melville. Let's chat about them. 5 out of a possible 6 points this weekend. The 2 wins against Kindersley. I think it all started on Wednesday, where they came back from a deficit going into the 3rd period with 4 unanswered goals, and they rode that momentum into a pretty solid week.
Yeah, you know what? There's such a huge difference with the Melville Millionaires when Clement Labelois is healthy and when he's not healthy. And Kelton Pine is a great young 2005 born goaltender, but to hand him the reins and tell him to play every night is a lot for a 17-year-old 05 goaltender. And when Labelois is in and he can spell them, and they can be a 1A and 1B, then I know Mike Reagan's got to feel a lot better about that. And as I mentioned there, you know that the Zach Canes and the Noah Wills are going to get theirs. The question is whether they can find some other line. And Ethan Anstey, they brought him in from the Flin Flon Bombers, Centennial Cup experience, SJHL finals experience, and he has come in and he's really added an energy element, a leadership element right away. He's such an incredible young man. Ethan Anstey. Learned a lot from Gabriel Schipper. I noticed they were pretty tight up there in Flin Flon. And, I think that's a guy that brings that championship kind of mentality to this Melville team, and added another line there with, as I mentioned, Freifogel, who had a great offensive week. And Anstey's going to do a lot of hard work for a guy like Freifogel who can really shoot a puck. Like we saw that from preseason right away there. So Melville now, they have some pieces, they have some confidence. And you look at Clement Labelois' stats. He's been really cruising this year. 263 goals against a 926 save percentage for Labelois. And if Millionaires can stay healthy, just get a little confidence. I think that's the biggest difference between them going on a real run here. And that's what they showed a couple games there against a Kindersley team that was struggling for sure. But Melville's got to feel real good about themselves right now.
Well, you teased it a few times with Clement Labelois, and he has our Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week. Have a look.
Now it's down to Freifogel. Freifogel will pass it up the middle. It's deflected in by Kane. And now Ethan Hilbig will fire it around. And now that's a chance for Linklater, but the Bears, number 17, gets back. Now a 3-on-1. Masoki shot. What a save by Labelois. The 3-on-1. As it was Bangs. Now he has some pushing and shoving at the side. That was a 3-on-1.
And you touched on it, Nugsy. They had great goaltending all week. Rory, what's your thoughts on Melville's week earning 5 out of a possible 6 points?
I tell you exactly what it was, guys. They got the SJHL weekly bump. When you come on the show, I guess your team goes on a roll afterwards, right?
Yeah, darn right they do.
But they picked up 5 out of 6 points, and they were 55 seconds away from picking up 6 out of 6. If it wasn't for FX Bedard scoring for the Nipawin Hawks to tie that game, and then Braxton Buckberger in overtime to win the game for the Nipawin Hawks. But Nugsy mentioned it. Both goalies played outstanding. Labelois, he stopped 23 of 26 in the first game, and then 48 of 51 against Nipawin. Of course, Kelton Pine picked up that 34-save shutout in the middle. But they're getting secondary opportunity scoring now. Carter McKay with 2 goals throughout the week. Colby Ball with 2 goals. How about the week for the defenseman Louis Frederick Deberge? So it's not just Noah Wills. It's not just Zach Kane. And when everyone contributes, along with going on SJHL Weekly, you pick up 5 out of 6 points.
It's true. Yes. Well, we were talking about it at the beginning of the year for Melville. They need their, depth pieces to succeed. Well, obviously you have Noah Wills and Zach Kane, but if they can get that depth scoring, they're going to climb up the standings because they are a very solid team on paper, Nugsy.
They're solid on paper. Their foot soldiers work real hard, right? Like I love Aiden Robson. Like he just clogs up space. He doesn't do anything pretty. He is mean, and he plays big minutes for Melville. And to see a guy like Colby Ball, produce a little bit of offense on the back end. They were hoping maybe some more offense from Caden Skolmoski, from Theberge. These guys, they're going to do what they're going to do, and they finally are starting to produce on that back end. But that Robson kid, he's a big, strong, mean, tough kid, and he's the type of guy I think that they really need to keep on the ice and play. And when he's playing a lot and playing well, he's such a difference maker. And it's not going to show up on the stat sheet because he does so many little things for Melville, and they have a lot of guys like that'll work hard. And I mentioned it. I'll talk about it all day, talk about it all year. Ethan Anstey is a great character add to this Melville team. Very underrated pickup by the Melville Millionaires. And I talked to Mike Rooney, when the Hounds were in Melville not that long ago, and he was just thrilled with what he's seen from him in practice, habits in the locker room, all those little details. And that's the difference in a lot of ways. Rory, Jeremy, you guys know as well as me, like those little details are the difference between winning a 1-goal game late in the game. And he's a big difference for them already.
Rory, I guess final thoughts on Melville and their weekend?
Yeah, exactly what we both said already. They're getting the secondary scoring. Their goaltendings are coming up big. So it was a week they had to have. Kindersley would have liked to pick up some more points. Melville was in the same situation. They lost their 6 games prior, and you know what? They took care of business. So that's what you want to see, and that's just huge confidence building into the Christmas break.
100%. Well, finally, we have to talk about some teams that are kind of at the opposite end of the standings, playing a home and home. The Flin Flon Bombers and the Melfort Mustangs, 2 great games at the Northern Lights Palace and the Whitney Forum. Each team splitting, but Melfort getting 3 out of a possible 4 points. Nugsy, your thoughts on the home and home, and I guess just the play of both teams?
Man, the Sherwood division, boy, oh boy, do they kill each other, eh? Like,
Yeah.
awesome. Like 18 goals in these 2 games, tons of action. The Melfort Mustangs got to be thrilled to get 3 or 4 points. Anytime you go to the Whitney and you get a point, you got to be like pretty happy about it. But only 1 regulation loss for Melfort in the entire month of November, and that was the very first game of November. So it's been a magical month of November for Melfort, and a big reason for that is the goaltending. Again, we talked about it for Melville and how important it is for Kelton Pine to have Amal Labalois in there to be his 1A, 1B. Well, James Venn, we know he's very talented, good young goaltender, but for Joel Favreau to be back in there and producing and playing well in net there for Melfort is a big difference. And sure, any game that Flin Flon plays, they're just going to pummel the other team's goalie with shots. And they did that pretty much both of these games between Melfort and Flin Flon, but it was end to end. It was dramatic. That game in Flin Flon, there was 1 goal in the first period, and then there were 7 in the third, and then just a beautiful, beautiful overtime winner for Flin Flon. And Jeromy Tremblay with the setup there for Cole Dupero, who just keeps running over the league right now. But you think about Jaden Mercier, you think about Cole Dupero, you think about Jeromy Tremblay, like they're going to put shots on. So the question is, can a guy like Venn, can a guy like Favreau hold you in long enough for some of your younger pieces to do some damage at the other end? And they did. And they're getting it from young guys, right? We always joke about Trevor Blevins and the Melfort Mustangs being this old guys club, but it's Zach Summers and it's Riley Ash doing the business offensively for Melfort. So, big time kudos to them. And I think, both Mike Reagan, and we can ask him, is he coming up here? But I think he'll be happy with his team's performance. I think, Trevor Blevins will be very, very happy with his team's November, because the Mustangs were really struggling in October, and they've really turned it all around. And if they go on a long, long run here the rest of the year, nobody would be surprised.
And if the guys in the back could quickly just pull up the standings, as of today, all 4 teams in the Sherwood division are currently in a playoff spot, which is pretty incredible when you see the Flin Flon Bombers, the Laurent Ice Wolves, Melfort Mustangs, and Nipawin Hawks, and all 4 teams are playing some great hockey right now. Quickly, we'll get to the teams that you guys cover. Rory, what'd you make of the Humboldt Broncos 4-0 performance on Saturday?
I thought it was what they needed to get back to. They needed to, what I heard from the coaching staff is we needed to go in practice and go to battle with each other because, they slumped in November. So it was a heated week of practice where, maybe you had some teammates getting under the skin of other teammates, trying to pick each other up, trying to elevate each other's games. And that's what they saw on Saturday in probably the most complete 60-minute game the Broncos had played. Look, though, after a bit of a slump, their PK is 91.1% in the last 6 games. Their power play is 28% in the last 6 games. The penalty kill was terrible in the first, I'd say the first 8 weeks of the year. Not good. It was under 77%. They take the most minor penalties in the league, 188 minor penalties. That's the most. So if your PK sucks, you're going to be in trouble. So they've been able to really click down on their penalty kill. And on even strength, they're the second best team in the SJHL at plus 16 goal differential. So if they can stay out of the box, and when they are in the box, kill them at a rate they have been over the last 6 games, they're back into the form what we saw in that opening 8-game win streak to start the season. Just want to give a shout out to Jeter Cordy as well, who scored his first career SJHL goal in his first career game to join Matthew Van Blaircom and Connor Miller, 3 draft picks of the Humboldt Broncos. And I don't think there's anyone in the league other than Scott Barney that gives opportunities to 16-year-olds like he does. Like Jeter Cordy was on the top line with Cage Newens and Tim Kim. You just don't see that playing his first career game, and he got rewarded for it with a goal. And then he goes out and loses Danton Cox, but right back onto the drawing board and acquires Chase Cook from the Merritt Centennials. And then finally, Hayden Dunford, first career shutout, stopping 29 of 29.
For sure. And Nugsy, I guess finally for you, just final thoughts on the Notre Dame Hounds and their win yesterday.
Yeah, just quickly there, Rory. Like it's you can play 16-year-olds when you have a bunch of like major junior veterans and 20-year-olds hanging around, and to insulate those young guys. You can play them
regardless when you have talented 16-year-olds.
Put them in situations to succeed. So certainly Barney does that, but I don't think it's a huge risk to put him with these guys. Anyways, that's I'm not chirping anybody. I'm just saying you got to add that piece. So for Notre Dame, yes, like they there was a while at the start of the year where it just seemed like it was Will Dawson and occasionally Jared Sitch putting the puck in the net, and everybody else was just kind of working hard. And then Will Dawson wasn't scoring, and then they were getting some secondary scoring, but it wasn't the same type of explosive. They're finally starting to put it together. They got some offense from Will Dawson. Last night he was flying. Great for Carson Bayless, especially yesterday, to face his former mates. Played well, got an assist. I knew it looked like I could see in his eyes that he was desperate to score against his former team there in Kindersley. It meant a lot to him, and he played well as well. That line with Evan Van Hoovel looks really, really good right now too. And yeah, I think it's also really good for this Notre Dame team. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't think they played phenomenal yesterday against a tired, even though they worked hard, a Kindersley team that looked a little bit tired. Two teams that didn't play great. And for the Hounds to win a game when they didn't play great, I think is great for their confidence. They obviously need to be better on Tuesday against L'Orange coming up, but you're not always going to play well. They played really well in Yorkton, 9 days ago. Then they had a long time off. So there you go. I'll give them that mulligan, and for them to get 2 points when they weren't at their best, I think is great for them to see. And again, if you're a Hounds fan, great to see Will Dawson find the back of the net, and great to see Jared Sitch do Jared Sitch things, because as I said, I still think I would take Jared Sitch over any other defenseman in this league. You can call me a homer if you want, but he again showed what he can do in all three zones. He was a man among boys yesterday, and that third period goal, just go back and watch it. He just decided he was going to score a goal, and he did.
Hey, Nugsy, this isn't the Stephen A. Smith show, so I'm not going to step all over your and try to argue with you over top of each other's voices. But Matthew Van Blericon was on a line with Connor Kasperi and Jace Benvey, no WHL experience. Jeter Cordy played with a 17-year-old Tim Kim and Cage Newens, who's played 20 games in the dub. And Carson Cater's been on a line the whole year with Noah Barloggy, 0 WHL experience. So they're putting them in spots where they are succeeding, but none of them are playing with major junior players.
I'm not criticizing. I didn't mean to criticize. I'm just saying Barney can feel good about doing it because he's insulated these young guys with experienced guys. Noah Barloggy, I didn't necessarily just mean to focus on the major junior element. I just meant like you're putting guys with guys who have a lot of experience. That's what I'm saying. You just can't throw a bunch of 16, 17-year-olds out there like some teams do try to do, and then they struggle. The Broncos succeed with these young guys because they can put, they had Noah Barloggy with great veterans, Kate Olsen and whatever years ago, and that kind of thing. And that's what Scott Barney does. And it's the right way to go about it. I think you insulate guys with good players, young players, and they learn the right way to go. And Tim Kim, he's another young guy, but he's got lots of BCHL experience. I think he could play in any league, junior league in Canada. He's outstanding too. So, I mean it as a compliment to Scott Barney's the way he goes about things. That's all I mean.
I've been waiting 3 months for one of these debates, and I'm glad we finally got one for sure. That was great, guys, and that was the weekend that was in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. After the break, we're going to be joined by the head coach and GM of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan, get his thoughts on the weekend and the start to the season for the Flin Flon Bombers. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Something about an easy thing, something about it comes so naturally. Let me show you what I'm all about. Give me those blue skies, give me that sunshine. I'm gonna make them all mine.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere. because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. You are what matters most. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be a part of your community. From the dance competitions, to the rodeos, to helping discover and embrace technology across the province, we're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. Every year, SaskTel contributes nearly $3 million to approximately 1,000 nonprofits, charities, associations, and events in more than 200 communities across Saskatchewan. So keep dancing, keep laughing, keep discovering, and we'll be there to help, to lend a hand, and join in the fun. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will, because we are dedicated to our home. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's Equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. My name is Jeromy Corrigan, joined by Rory Mcgouran and Jamie Neugebauer. And before we get to our guest, we have gotten some great feedback already about that hot debate between Rory and Jamie. Mike Rooney chiming in, Jason Tatarnik. We love it. We love the hot debate and we love the feedback. But it is time to bring in our guest, the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan, and every coach interview is presented by the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Mike, how's it going today?
Oh, great. Now, I mean, the intensity was unbelievable there between the two. I loved it. I actually was going to pass up my minutes here to them to keep this going. So well done, boys. Great for a Monday.
Well, we got to, you know what? It might be cold outside, but the heat, it's heating up definitely on SJHL Weekly. Mike, I guess first and foremost, we'll start with this past weekend. You guys split the Melfort Mustangs. What'd you think of your team's play?
Yeah, I thought, I was a little bit disappointed in our effort in Melfort. We get off to a 2-goal lead and blow that before the period's out in the first, and just lacked the intensity that we needed. For such a big game for us. Melfort's been playing really good hockey here, and we knew that going in and that they would be ready, and we just didn't get the full effort that we were hoping for. But Saturday night I thought we bounced back pretty well. Their goaltender played phenomenal. I was getting nervous that we weren't going to score, and then we were able to get 4 in the third period, and again we gave up a 4-2 lead with under 3 minutes left, to go into overtime, but we score a big goal, and Dupro gets the hat trick on a great feed from Jeremy Tremblay, who's been absolutely excellent for us here in the last month here. I think he's got 15 or 16 points in 9 games, so he's really cranking it up, and happy to see that. And then obviously Dupe has been phenomenal for us this year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for joining us there, Mike. Take me to that third period. Then 7 goals scored. Were you transported back to the SJHL finals almost a little bit last year? Just the intensity and the passion and the play that was on display. Because just watching it, it kind of came through. It felt like a playoff game.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think that both teams were. There's a lot of intensity between Melfort and Flin Flon, and we played in the league final a few years back there, and it felt like a playoff game. I know Kyle, the commissioner, was up here, and those were some of the comments that he had after the game and that. But an exciting win, and at that point where we'll take the 2 points and just move on. It was a tough November for us, probably our toughest month of the season. And, we ended up 5-3-1. So 2 games above 500. So we got to be happy with the circumstances. We played Humboldt, Melfort, Battleford's, so it was a really tough month for us. So, the competition was really good, but we like that. I think that, Nuge, you and I joked about it. I was pretty upset with the schedule being my scheduler, being that myself, for going Battleford, Humboldt 3-3. That's running the gauntlet. But we fared all right. I think we went 1-1-1 on that trip, and felt that we played Battleford really well, and probably deserved at least 2 points in that back-to-back series. But it was a good test for us, good measuring stick. We find out where we are as a hockey club when you play that stiff competition.
Hey, Mike, we all know the special teams that the Flin Flon Bombers have. You can absolutely bury opponents with your power play and penalty kill. It's number one in the league in both regards. How would you address your team's play 5-on-5 throughout this season so far?
Up until, the last little bit, we've been really good 5-on-5. When you take a look at our goals against, we've been a really good team. I think, I don't know exactly where we are today, but top 3 or 4, I think, in goals against, and at one point we were second. So, we're pretty happy with the way we've played defensively, over the last little stretch here. We've given up a few more goals than we'd like to. In that Battleford series, I think we gave up 5 and 4, so we gave up 9 goals in those back-to-back games. That's gonna hurt you. And then we give up 6 in Melfort. The other night, 2 of them empty netters, but and then we give up 4 against Melfort on Saturday night. So that quickly can change when you just look at those 4 games, how many goals we gave up during that. But before then, I thought that defensively we've played great 5-on-5, and we got to get back to that for sure.
Mike, we've talked about it a lot, about the parity in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League this year. But I mean, if you look at the Sherwood division, we were talking about it in the first block of the show. Right now, all 4 teams in the Sherwood division are currently in a playoff spot. What do you make of the Sherwood division as of right now?
Yeah, it's a grind. I mean, but trust me, I'm getting used to this. I mean, the Sherwood division's always been really good. When you take a look at Nipawin and Melfort and Flin Flon have grinded it out for many years, and then since Killers got into Larange, now he's making it even tougher. So but I truly believe that it just makes us stronger. Like I said, stiff competition, and when you got to battle every night, it makes you better, and it pushes each other and that sort of thing. So a lot of fun nights, a lot of challenging nights. A lot of intensity, and that's good for the game, and it's good for the players.
Yeah, no
Jamie?
doubt. Lots of fun to watch for all of us, of course. One of the things that I love to do when I'm around the league, I go to the Whitney and I go into your office and we chat about players in the league, and that's one of my highlights as a broadcaster in this league. And one of the guys that I want to ask you about that you must be so proud of. You mentioned him there, Jeromy Tremblay, committed to Sacred Heart, where you played, your college hockey, of course, as well. And, just after the year he had last year with illness and everything having to come back, are you even impressed given how he's been able to bounce back from a year that wasn't bad, obviously, but just missed so much time, that he's been able to be as good as he has been this year?
Yeah, that was a tough year for him. Obviously he got off to a great start and got his scholarship, and a special feeling for myself as well, knowing that he's going to Sacred Heart, and I know what it's like to be there, and proud of being there and having him go there. But for us, I mean, when he got sick after Christmas there, and we lost him for as long as we did, and didn't have him in the Centennial Cup, and that really hurt us. I thought a guy that's a point a game player for you, and you don't have him in the playoffs or in the Centennial Cup. I think that could have went a long ways for us, maybe even going a little bit deeper, because he can score goals and that. And then obviously he comes here and he gets mono to start the season, so he loses all of training camp and exhibition and that, and then he got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I mean that's understandable with everything that he's gone through in the previous 6 months, and now we're just starting to really see what he's capable of doing, and it's exciting for us, and obviously we're proud of him for sticking with it. mentally that can be a real challenge. And he's fought through that, and it's only made him stronger. So the best is still to come for him, and that's a great thing for the Flin Flon Bombers and for Jeremy Tremblay.
Well, Mike, if Nugsy was going to go one direction, I'll go the other player. I mean, Jeromy Tremblay,
Perfect.
I think is one of the most. I think is one of the most difficult players, if not the most, to take off the puck. And what does that do? It opens up room for his other players. Well, how exceptional has Cole Dupereau been? He leads the league in goals now, tied with Kean Bell. He has 6 goals in his last 3 games. Just what is he doing, along with his teammates, to elevate his game to the next level and being this contributing to the Flin Flon Bombers?
Yeah, Dupe has been phenomenal. I mean, he's got an unbelievable shot. He's got a pro shot, and that's tough for goaltenders, to stop. And, I think that everybody does a good job at pre-scouting and stuff like that. So what's more impressive is that he's still scoring goals the way he is. And teams are starting to, identify where he is on the ice, and yet he's still able to score. So that says a lot about his ability. But if you take a look at his last year of AAA, I mean, I'm not surprised. I think he had 73 points. Was second in AAA scoring that year. So he's done it along the way, and we really felt that if he could get off to a hot start this year, that he was capable of scoring. I'm not sure if I thought he'd have 19 goals in 23 games, but certainly happy with his production. And I think it's just a matter of time before he gets a Division I scholarship, and he's starting to garner a lot of attention from schools, and that's great for him, great for the league, great for our program, and hopefully it works out for him.
Mike, I was going to ask you about the addition you made in mid-October of Alex von Sprecken from the Estevan Bruins. Obviously, you're very familiar with him from his time with the Estevan Bruins last year and the matchup in last year's final. But what has he brought to your defensive core since joining the Flin Flon Bombers?
Well, Vonnie's he's an unbelievable guy. Like he's fit in here so well. Just plays like a bomber. His intensity that he brings. I mean, first practice, I was like, wow, this guy competes. And he reminds me a lot of a guy we had years ago, Brandon Masson, probably a little more skilled than Brandon was and that, but like the intensity that he brings to the table is very similar. Obviously bringing in a guy that has Centennial Cup experience and won a championship against us. I mean, it's tough sometimes. We do talk about that. I'm not going to lie. I think we lost 10 guys from last year's team, and to be able to add a guy like him with that experience has been huge for us. We felt that we had a good team, a good core returning, but like I said, when we lost 10 guys and you lose good players every year, but we knew that we were going to have to fill some holes. And when he became available, I mean, that was right away. We jumped on that one, and he's been great for us. And the guys love him here, and he's such a positive guy. Like when he walks into the dressing room, he's got a smile on his face every day, and brings that intensity. And I think it just makes our other guys better when you practice with a guy like that, or go up against a guy day in, day out that brings it. And you can see why he's had a lot of success in this league.
Yeah, last one from me then, Mike. Just to switch gears just a little bit, the World Junior A Challenge is coming up in December. I don't know what's been announced officially, who and what and all that, so I'm going to stay away from the specifics. But I'm going to ask you about your personal experience, coaching at that event, and what it was like for you, and how good it is, do you think, for anybody who might get an opportunity to either try out or even play there, and how cool of an event it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was very fortunate to be a part of that for 3 years, and actually 4. I think I went the first year as a guest coach, and you learn a lot, and you meet a lot of great people, and I think it only makes you better as a coach. And I got to be around, Cale Makar, I mean, Tyson Jost, Dante Fabro, some guys that are, Cale Makar, a pretty good player in the NHL right now. But what I learned about them is just unbelievable hockey players, but unbelievable human beings. And, it makes you better as a person and as a coach. And I think when you can come back and apply that to your team, I think that's huge. And, we were fortunate to have some SJHL guys there and really hoping that a couple guys do make it. And excited for Braden, Klamosko going there. We've had a few conversations. He's going to just absolutely love it. And, I think he's going to bring a lot of great experience with him there and or to the team. And he's a great coach. And, they're fortunate to have a guy like that. So, I know that the camp has changed quite a bit, which is unfortunate. We used to be able to bring in 60 guys into either Calgary or Edmonton and run a camp and that. And now I think they've gone down to 30 guys, which I don't quite understand. I actually was talking to a Division I school about that today. And, it's unfortunate for those schools because a lot of players get identified at that camp that don't, maybe make the team, but they're great players. And so the exposure that they get from a camp like that is unfortunately not going to be there. And, hopefully in the future they get back to that. We understand, for cutting budget purposes, with COVID and everything like that and coming out of it. And like I said, hopefully they get back to that because, I think that there's a lot of players in Western Canada that miss out on a great opportunity to grow as a player and get that exposure, even if you aren't making the team.
And Mike, before we let you go, do you want to get in on the debate between me and Nugsy? You want to fire it back up before the segment ends?
Actually, no, I don't, because you guys did such a great job, and that's probably a topic that I want to stay away from. I don't want Barnes calling me up and giving me heck for anything, and I'll just let you guys decide that. And I don't know if Nugs, if your new nickname is Homer, you were kind of asking for that earlier there, and
he was. You're right.
Call me a Homer if you want, or whatever. But no, you guys do a tremendous job, and I'm just really hoping that we get that SJHL bump that you were talking about as well here. So the timing of this is great. We're going into a new month here before the Christmas break, and we're hoping for that SJHL bump and that sort of thing. And I just want to give a shout out to Ansi there. You guys were talking about a Nuge. You're exactly right. What a phenomenal human being he is, and he's really going to help Melville. And that was a tough one to do, but he's a great player, and he's going to really help them. And we wish him all the best, except for when we play them on Friday night.
Yeah, I guess finally, Mike, just quickly, what do you expect from your road trip this weekend?
Well, we played a lot on the road here. I mean, we just came off a 5-game road trip. Basically, haven't played at the Whitney Forum in a long time, so it was nice to be able to play there. But now we're right back on the road for 2, and then we get two home games. I think we get Yorkton the following Friday, and then we got a home and home with Larange, which we haven't seen Larange in a long time here. So excited about that. It's amazing. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but the season seems to go by a lot quicker now. I can't believe we're into December here, and Christmas is right around the corner. So it's been a lot of fun. The intensity is going to pick up here a lot more after Christmas. And I know right now it's about the GMs getting their jobs done. And, so you got the two hats, the coaches side of things, and then the GM side. And right now with the December 1 cut down date, it's time for GMs to do their work, I think.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate your time today. Thanks so much for joining us, and best of luck this weekend in Yorkton and Melville.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Good job.
That is the head coach and general manager of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan. After the break, we will announce this week's Players of the Week, and we will have another edition of Buy It or Sell It. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sasktel.com/fresh start.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Something about an easy thing, something about it comes so naturally. Let me show you what I'm all about. Give me those blue skies, give me that sunshine. I'm gonna make them all mine.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. My name is Jeromy Corrigan, joined by Rory Mcgouran, Jamie Neugebauer. Guys, what a great chat with head coach and GM of the Flin Flon Bombers, Mike Reagan. He's always a great chat, a great conversation with Mike. It's always had.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, anytime you can have. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I thought we've been going clockwise around the virtual chat screen, but no, I mean, we're love having any coach that, you know, just gleams when they talk about his team and his organization and his fans and the opportunity these kids get in the SJHL to further their hockey career. And Mike's one of the best of it. So, yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Jamie, your thoughts?
Yeah, just, you know, again, first of all, he's a guy that follows the show and follows what we do and actually cares about the league. And that's great for us. And more importantly than that, he cares about his players, cares about his team. And obviously he's a Flin Flon guy. He definitely cares about the Flin Flon Bombers organization. And so I think that, you know, as you were saying, you know, Rory, I think that kind of really comes through because he wears that bomber jacket with so much pride. Means everything to him. You know, he talks about being in the crowd when Flin Flon was in the finals or won the finals in the 90s and all that. So, you know, he is the Bombers right in a lot of ways, the Bombers right now. And again, such a great dude to talk hockey with.
He sure is. Well, it's time now to announce this week's Players of the Week. We talked about it earlier on in the show, a bit of a lighter schedule this week, but still some unreal performances across the league. So let's start with the SGEU MVP of the week. And we talked about Melfort and Flin Flon, offensive duel between the two teams. And Zach Summers with 4 goals, 2 assists, a great weekend for him. Rory, maybe just talk about his performance and how good he's been for this Melfort Mustang squad so far this season.
He's been absolutely huge for the Melfort Mustangs. Is there a more improved or maybe surprised? Because, I mean, he was a good player last year, but I would put Zach Summers and Maguire Ratzlav as the two most surprising players in the SJHL this year. Summers had 13 points in 47 games last year. He's got 27 points in 23 games and leads the Melfort Mustangs. You talk about the World Junior A Challenge. This is a player that might be on that tryout list. I'm not sure, but I'd be shocked if he wasn't in the SJHL. One of the best young 2004 born players. And my opinion for the most surprising improved player in the SJHL. He's on a roll.
Yeah, and you touched on it. I mean, I was writing the SJHL Players of the Week article for sjhl.ca, which you can check out after the show. But the fact that he's already doubled his point total from last year in his rookie season is extremely impressive. All right, moving on to SaskTel Goalie of the Week. And we ended up going with Caleb Allen of the Yorkton Terriers. We touched on it earlier, but Nugsy, I mean, Allen's really kept the Yorkton Terriers in a lot of hockey games this year, and he's won them a lot of hockey games this year, too.
Yeah, you know what? It's similar to last year, right? Kale DePape was phenomenal for Yorkton, and they needed him too. And you know, they have a style that they do need their goalie to make some big saves at different times because they do sell out so much on the counterattack. You know, 4 guys, 5 guys sometimes are up the ice. So that's going to leave your goalie to make some saves. And again, as I said, Matt Hare is so high on this kid. He had an inkling about that he would be pretty good, given that how highly touted he was out of Colorado. Last year in the Loomis Chaffee School, which is such a great prep school in the States. So, he's talented and he's good. And he was a big, huge reason, of course, why the Yorkton Terriers picked up, a couple of overtime wins there against Kindersley.
Yeah, and a big shout out, a big congratulations to Caleb Allen. And this is also his second time winning SaskTel Goalie of the Week as well. Moving on to Direct West Rookie of the Week. We're going back to the Melfort Mustangs. I mean, we talked about it earlier, how good he's been, but Riley Ash, another great performance this week, 3 assists this week against the Flin Flon Bombers, Rory, and a guy who's just behind Summers when it comes to team scoring for the Melfort Mustangs.
Yeah, we're going to talk probably a little bit more about Ash coming up and buy it or sell it as well. But it's one of the 16-year-olds that Nugsy, is he insulated on the Melfort Mustangs, or is he one of the talented 16-year-olds that's getting all the opportunity by Trevor Blevins and the Melfort Mustangs to contribute the way he's doing? And but yeah, Riley Ash just continues to be on a roll, and you know how much that the Melfort Mustangs mean to the Ash family, and the Ashes mean to the Melfort Mustangs family. So to bring him right in as a 16-year-old, give him all the opportunity, and to see him contribute once again, deserving of a Rookie of the Week this week, Riley Ash has been special.
Yeah, and his second time also being Direct West Rookie of the Week as well. Finally, the newly sponsored Super U Defenseman of the Week, going to the Melville Millionaires. We talked about it earlier. Louis Frederick Taberge, 2 goals, 1 assist. Nugsy, I mean, we talked about how big of a week it was for Melville, but it was also a big week for the 19-year-old defenseman.
Yeah, you know what? It's always a good night when 2 goals that you score go in from defensemen, from the same defenseman, and he scored 2 goals against Kindersley in a game. And you know what? Look, Mike Rooney accounted, and as I said earlier, thought that he would get some offensive production from his back end with the likes of Skolmoski, AJHL veteran. Taberge had a pretty good rookie year last year. He's good, talented player, and they got Andrew Siak back from the Dub as well, and so they got some pieces back there. So again, good for him, and again, this Melville team, we all thought they'd be pretty good this year if they should just get it together, get some bounces. They're going to be scary, and Taberge is right in the middle of it offensively, especially.
Yeah, a big reason why they got 5 out of a possible 6 points this week. So in recap, SGU MVP of the week, Zach Summers of the Melfort Mustangs with 4 goals and 2 assists. SaskTel Goalie of the Week is Caleb Allen, 2 wins, a 1.89 goals against average. Superb, helping Yorkton pick up 2 overtime wins over the Kindersley Clippers. Direct West Rookie of the Week being Riley Ash of the Melfort Mustangs with 3 assists, his second time being Direct West Rookie of the Week. And the Super U D-Man of the Week is Louis Frederick Taberge with 2 goals, 1 assist. So congratulations to all 4 players. You can read all about the players of the week on sjhl.ca. That article should be going live any minute now. But now it's time to move on to Buy It or Sell It. It is back for another week. And we are going to go with, we got 4 questions today. We're even giving the fans a little bit of an extra treat this week. So we'll start with the first one. Rory, I'll let you answer first on this one. Let's just sort that out first. All right. With the current the current top 4 teams in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League hang on to home ice advantage come playoff time? For background, for people watching at home, the top 4 right now: Battleford 1, Flin Flon 2, Humboldt 3, and Larange 4. Rory?
I think we already eliminate 25% of it because there's no way the Battleford's North Stars are falling to 5th place. So now you got to look at does one of Humboldt, Flin Flon, or Larange fall out? And in my mind, I mean, it's still early. We're halfway through the season, but I'm looking at Melfort and Estevan. Does Melfort or Estevan pass one of Larange, Humboldt, or Flin Flon and bump one of those teams down to 5th? The way you do that is by winning on the road. There's only 5 teams in the SJHL that have a .500 winning percentage or higher on the road. 4 of them are the top 4 teams. The other one is Melfort. The good news for the Estevan Bruins is that they've already played over half their road games. So they'll have a lot of home cooking coming. But I'm going to buy it. I think the top 4 teams right now will be the top 4 teams. Larange is going to have to prove it on the road because they've played the least amount of road games, but they're still .500 on the road at 4-4. But I will buy it. I think it's going to be Battleford, Flin Flon, Humboldt, and Larange. Not sure in what order, but those are going to be your home ice advantage teams.
Nugsy?
Well, yeah, I mean, I love disagreeing with you, so here's an opportunity. I am selling that all day and all night. We know Trevor Blevins. We know Jason Tatarnik. Those guys are going to add. They're going to add between now and January the 10th. They might add today. Who knows? And you know what? They're not in a home ice advantage spot. You mentioned all those home games at Affinity Place. Estevan's just going to keep getting better and better. I think if you ask Jason Tatarnik, he still would say he hasn't seen his best Estevan Bruins team this year, not by a mile. They got Cam Herdlicka. Melfort's got James Venn really flying. Joel Favreau looks like he's back healthy and doing Joel Favreau things in the sticks too. If Melfort could get healthy, look out. If Estevan keeps adding, which they will, look out. Sorry, one of those 3 teams. I'm not going to say which one, but you know what? It's going to be hard to hold off those 2. Both of them, anyways.
And to break up the tie, I will also sell it just for the fact with the statistics. And I would say the thing is, like you kind of mentioned, Rory, the difference is going to be the teams that win on the road. And you know what? That really separates them teams from themselves. The top teams always win on the road, and the bottom teams are unable to find a way to win on the road. You mentioned Kindersley hasn't won a road game, and look at where they are in the standings. But look how well Melfort's playing as of late. 5 or 11 points of their possible 12 in their last 6 games. So I think no matter what, those top 6, it's going to be a battle for sure down the stretch. Moving on to number 2, and this one kind of alludes to it. Rory teased it earlier. Jamie, you can start with this one. Will an SJHL team have a leading scorer who is a rookie this year?
I'm going to sell it just because the team, there are probably 2 teams that there's a chance, in my opinion, at this point out of 12 teams in the league. And will they hang on? It's a long year. It's tough for young kids. Of course, Dylan Ruptash in Yorkton is the only rookie leading right now. And we've talked a lot about Riley Ash. For Melfort, he's kind of hot on Zach Summers' heels right now. They're 2 young guys, waiting for Ben Tkachuk and Clark Huxley to stay healthy, there in Melfort, but it's so hard in this league for a rookie to lead their team in scoring. I guess last year notwithstanding, but this year I'm going to sell it.
Rory?
Yeah, I'm with Nugsy. I'm going to sell this one as well, just because of how difficult it is. I'd also add in Logan Ziegler there for the Estevan Bruins. He's 8 points back. So he could do it, right? But you're right. Riley Ash has 20 points. He's 7 points back of Zach Summers, and Dylan Ruptash leads his team in scoring. But if it's 1 out of 12 teams that maybe has a shot, then I'm taking the 11 out of 12 and 92% chance that it won't happen, and I'll sell it.
And I would also agree with you guys. So that's a clean sweep on the sell it. Moving on. Oh, this one's going to be a good one, I think. Should the SJHL reduce the limit of 20-year-olds on the roster? Rory?
Sell it. I don't like it. I mean, if you reduce it by 1 to 7 20-year-olds, I'd be like, all right, I guess that's okay. My argument for it is going to be contradicting the argument to lower it down, which is to make the league younger. But in my mind, if you lower your 20-year-olds from 8 to 6, you're just going to see teams bring in more 19-year-olds. In no reason does lowering the amount of 20-year-olds make teams bring in more 16-year-olds. You need to have a competitive league. When you go to the Centennial Cup, if the SJHL loses to the NO or the SI, what young dynamite 16-year-old is going to look at the SJHL and be like, that's where I want to go, right? I mean, you have to have a competitive, hard-fought league with top players that are going to help develop these kids and get them post-secondary scholarships. I think if you lower it to 6 or 5, you're just impacting the overall talent level of the league, and you're only doing is increasing 19-year-olds. So keep it where it is. Can you limit major junior players out of the Sure, you could do that. But no, you got to keep the 20-year-olds at minimum 7, is my opinion. Sell it all day long. Give the opportunity to the 16-year-olds regardless if there's 7 20-year-olds or 6 20-year-olds. If you got a 16-year-old on your team and he can play like Riley Ash, put him in the lineup. Like it's a new game, man. And I just think lowering the 20-year-olds doesn't do anything but just raise the amount of 19-year-olds in the league.
Nugsy, before you answer this question, I want to follow up here with Rory. So with this question, we kind of did leave it wide open about what it would be lowered to. So what would your answer be if I said lowering it to 7?
I wouldn't argue as passionately as I am now. I don't think it's going from 8 to 7, right? I mean, if you drop it to 6, then I'm very much against it. But I mean, I think it'd be more of a 50-50 split with coaches to lower it to 7 than terms to 6.
Yep, fair enough. All right, Nugsy, your turn.
Yeah, again, I think people know where I'm going to go with this. I'm going to buy it hard buy it. First of all, this is a development league. Now, okay, absolutely. 20-year-olds are still young people. That is definitely true. I'm not arguing that. But if we as a league say that we want to be far more NCAA focused, and we want to head in that direction and get guys scholarships there, then a college scout is not going to spend his budget money to come to the SJHL to watch a kid from the Western Hockey League or the Q or the O be on the power play when somebody else could. So if you lower the 20 to 6 or 5, even down, then the more young guys get opportunities, the more there's ice time to go around. If you look at it just mathematically, that's more ice time for younger players. I don't think it's going to be 19-year-olds. They're just going to add a bunch of 19-year-olds. The best teams will have more 19-year-olds. I think, good teams think about the future the next year as well, too. But what it really does is it does limit major junior guys, because a lot of 20-year-olds, not all, I get it, but a lot of major junior guys come in because, maybe they could fight for an OA spot in a major junior team. And sometimes they don't want to necessarily fight for that, or they want to go home. There's all sorts of reasons why a 20-year-old might leave major junior hockey, but that's, a very common reason. And again, I'm not criticizing anybody for any decision that they made as that result. Everybody has the right to do the best decision for them. But if you're a coach of a team, you're going to take that kid, and I don't blame you. Because you're trying to win, you're trying to do good, you're trying to get tickets and seats, you're trying to make your team better and win hockey games and win a championship. But this is from a league perspective. What direction does the league want to go? If the league is deciding that it's an NCAA focused league, and if it's a scholarship-driven league, what those U Sports guys, they probably have U Sports spots already, locked up before they get here for the most part. They got their college, their CHL, U Sports package. They're pretty much set if they want that direction. The college kids don't. So, I'm all for giving guys more of an opportunity to get that NCAA spot. I think lowering it to 6 would be fantastic for that, and it would increase eyeballs, for the guys. And guys are going to go major junior if that's what they want to do, anyways. It's not going to change the decision of U18 kids as much, but it might do a good thing here too for a 16, 17-year-old to get that spot on the power play, instead of a 20-year-old that college scout doesn't want to see anyways. So there you go. That's what I got to say.
There you go. I'll kind of meet you guys in the middle. I kind of agree with some points that both of you guys are making. I agree with Rory. I don't know if lowering it all the way down to 6 would be the greatest idea, but at the same time, I think if they reduced it down to 7, I don't see too much of harm in potentially doing that in a situation. And Nugsy, the point you made that I like is, of course, you want to try and find a way to give younger players that opportunity to make division an NCAA scholarship potentially. If that's the route that the league wants to go, that's going to be, if you can provide more roster spots for players that want to pursue that route, that's what you'd want to see from the league. But maybe it comes down to, like you guys mentioned, maybe it comes down to reducing the amount of major junior players that come into the SJHL. But the thing is, I do like about this topic is it creates such good debates, not just between the three of us, but between fans and across the league. And this one's always going to be a hot topic for sure. Finally, we touched on it a little bit earlier, just about the trade deadline happening on January 10th. For the final buy it or sell it, it's going to be kind of like an over-under, but we're going to set the number at 15 transactions. If you buy it, there's going to be more than 15 transactions, but if you sell it, it's less than 15. Nugsy, you can start.
Before I answer, we're still like there's the cut down date December 1st, and then there's the trade deadline January 10th. We're talking about January 10th right now, just to be
January 10th.
Trade, yeah.
Yeah, trades January 10th.
So I looked up last year between November 30th and January 10th, which includes the Christmas break. There were 41 trades. 41. And the over-under is 15. So, like, I'm going to buy it and take it to the
our
bank
odds maker. We got to talk to our odds maker here at SJHL.
So yeah, I wasn't 100%. I'm not criticizing. Again, not criticizing anybody. I just I think it's gonna be like well over 15, and I think just partly a big reason for that is again, a lot of these, we have such great coaches and GMs in this league, and they care about kids, and there's only so many kids you can have on your team, so they want to take it upon them in a lot of situations to find a spot for maybe that kid that just isn't going to make your team past a certain. So you move him to the Manitoba League, or you move him to a different league or a different spot where the situation. I'm not criticizing any other league. I'm just saying you find a spot for a kid if you can, and I'm including all those trades, not just the ones that you add to make your team better. So that just really pads it. I think it's going to be way more than 15.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also going to buy it at 15. I don't think we're going to see 41 because I don't think there's a lot of teams in this league that are sellers.
Yeah.
I can see teams at the bottom buying and trying to make their roster better because of how competitive this playoff race is going to be. You got 7 to 11 divided by 5 points. So why can't Melville pick up another stud? Why can't Yorkton, add to their roster via a trade, right? You're going to maybe see a draft pick go somewhere and a player come in that they could think boost it. Maybe it was 41 last year because we had a couple teams that, offloaded a few players, brought in some younger players. We're looking at next year. I don't think we're going to see as much of that this year. And then, of course, you got the teams at the top that are going to be adding because they want to try to go for the championship. But I've also looking at the bottom, and I'm like, I don't see any reason why Nipawin can't add right now. Although, they did get a little younger with the Braden Kiesman trade and earlier in the season. But now they're in 8th place. Like, you can bring in another player, but I don't think it's going to be 41. I think that's an absurd number for this year, but I think it's definitely going to be higher than 15.
Yeah, I agree with Rory. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle, like maybe like 20, 25, something like that. So I'll definitely buy it as well. But yeah, I agree too. Like I think the parity in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, I don't know if you're going to see up until January 10th many trades within the league. You might see teams across the SJHL making trades with other teams in other leagues to potentially bolster their lineup for obviously a championship push, like at the top of the standings, or even a push to potentially make the playoffs. Well, tonight is an off night in the SJHL, but the action resumes again tomorrow night. Another 2 games on the schedule tomorrow night. Nugsy's going to be busy at the Dunk Tank as the Notre Dame Hounds play host to the Larange Ice Wolves. And the Weyburn Red Wings will return to the ice after their games got postponed this past week as they play host to the Yorkton Terriers. We talked about a big matchup between teams that are fighting for points at the bottom of the standings. That will be a big one. And then on Wednesday, the La Ronge Ice Wolves will continue their 4-game and 5-night road trip as they take on the Estevan Bruins, who once again, there's another team that we haven't seen in a while because their games have been postponed as well. And then another big matchup between the Melville Millionaires and the Nipawin Hawks on Wednesday as well. Guys, I guess before we go, obviously we went a bit long today, but for good reason. Nugsy, when you look at this week coming up in the SJHL, what do you have your eyes on, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, right? Those La Ronge Ice Wolves, every time we think that they have a challenge that's a little bit too big for them to climb, they meet that challenge right away, right? So they got this long road trip coming up. They've got Notre Dame, they've got Estevan a couple times. That'll be very, very interesting to see what the La Ronge Ice Wolves do out of the friendly, confines of the Mel Hegland Uniplex. So it'll be very interesting to see, after they're dealing their bout with illness as well, how they come out of that. Again, I love just watching the La Ronge Ice Wolves. I love the way they play. I love the way Kevin Kavinsky has his teams play with so much passion and so much fire and so much guts. It's always a blast for me to watch the Ice Wolves and friend of the show, Walker Jerome.
Rory, what about you?
Exact same. You can't take your eyes off La Ronge right now. They got 4 road games in 5 days, and they've only played 8 road games altogether. We talked about, will those top 4 teams fall out, or one of them, and La Ronge has 2 games against Estevan. So those are huge swings, but that's a big road trip for La Ronge, and the Ice Wolves is who I'm looking at this week in the SJHL.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you on that for sure, because the last time La Ronge went on a southern road trip, they ended up with a 3-1 record. So we'll see if they can do that again this week, because it's a big week, like you guys mentioned, 4 games in 5 nights. Of course, before we go, we have to give another big shout out to all of our sponsors in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for all their support to help us put on SJHL Weekly and SJHL Insider each and every week. Canterra Seed, SaskTel, Capital Auto Mall, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Chevrolet, Tourism Saskatchewan, Direct West, SGI, SGEU, Great Western, Young's Equipment, and RBC. Thank you all so much for your support. And of course, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association presenting all of our coaches' conversations this season. As you can see below on the screen, be sure to if you want to stay up to date in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, as that's where you're going to find all of the highlights, shows, as well as great features that are coming to the SJHL. It's going to be another busy week of hockey across the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. For Rory Mcgouran, Jamie Neugebauer, my name is Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.